Hello everyone and welcome to episode 13 of Natural Expansion, the StarCraft 2 podcast with myself, Wardy, and today I am joined by one of my favourite StarCraft people ever. It is Probe. Dude, what's up? How you doing?
Yo, what's up, man? I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. We've just been talking about this a little bit kind of before, but I just had like the weekend of travel nightmares. Like, I went full Australian trying to get to and from Poland, 5 hours
Now
of
you
travel
know how
turned
it
into 20. Now I know how it is. Yeah, it was pretty brutal, but I'm pretty good and just I've got a pretty chill week. Not a lot going on. Events are kind of low because there's just other stuff happening. It's a busy week in StarCraft. Like offline seasons here, plus there's like thousands of qualifiers. It's pretty crazy. When I say offline season, I mean online season. For some reason, I can never get those right. But yeah, I'm pretty chilled out this week, I guess. Other than that, but yeah, great to have you here. I always love talking to you, and it was about time we got you on and had a little chat about StarCraft.
Yeah, sounds good. One thing that I do not wish for is with my normal travel home to Australia. Imagine if I got my flights delayed. I would be screwed. Then we end up like Maynard, and it's like, oh,
60-hour journey home from BlizzCon.
What a journey.
That's actually insane. In some ways, if you got delayed, it might be okay to actually just sleep in the airport. Okay, maybe not. I'm trying to justify this in the worst way ever. It'd be terrible. I don't know how you do it, man. Like, it's absolutely insane to have to travel that much for like a weekend or 4 or 5 days.
I know.
It's really crazy.
Come to Europe for 6 days. 2 of those days I'm on a plane.
It's like I actually just can't even wrap my head around the fact that you still do that. It's like it's actually mind blowing for me. It was so funny when we were at IEM Shanghai this year. We were talking to Maynard. Maynard was like, "Oh yeah, it took me like 10 hours to get here." We're like, "How can it take you 10 hours to get here? You live next to China, Like this is like the closest event you're ever gonna get in StarCraft, unless it's like." Obviously, maybe there'll be an Australian event someday, but it's like for a Premier StarCraft event, like this is pretty much it. You still have to travel 10 hours. He's like, yeah. I was like, that's crazy. Like I traveled like 13, and here I am. He only traveled 3 hours less. You guys really.
It's actually surprising.
Yeah.
The amount of distance up you have to travel.
Yeah, I guess so. That's the thing. Like you really are kind of like down under, right? Like. It's really crazy.
As the name would suggest.
That's I really just can't get my head around it sometimes. Like, I can get by maybe doing maybe like once every few months I can do like a super long flight and not feel so bad about it. Especially because like if you go like once every in a little while, it's like there's new movies and shit on the plane at least.
Oh yeah, when you start running out of movies to watch and there's like nothing for you to do.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like you run out of movies, so then you start watching like the shitty TV shows, which they have like one episode of. It's like, oh yeah, I really wanted to watch season 4, episode 7 of Game of Thrones. Like that's exactly that's like, and then let's watch season 5, episode 3 after. That makes complete sense, right?
The same 3 episodes of Family Guy I've seen like 20 times now.
Yeah, the few comedies out on there. It's pretty brutal, man. The woes of being an Australian esports hero, eh? It's some rough stuff. Well, I mean, we're talking about traveling. Obviously, you're going to get to travel a whole bunch in the next couple of months because you just qualified for a couple of events. You had a pretty successful week, and it is, I guess I should say this as well, it is as of the time of speaking for another 22 minutes or so, if I can do my math right, still your birthday?
Nah, hour and 22 minutes.
An hour and 22 minutes. I totally just realized this in my head as well. Well, there you go. I've given you an extra hour. Well, I guess.
There you go.
Well, it's still your birthday here for like 12 hours, so I'm going to celebrate all day. But happy birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for giving up your birthday night just to be on the show. It's like really... It's really something.
Wow. I already did all the celebrating earlier and other days as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I just about to talk about these events you qualified for, but the IEM qualified, you had to go and like cut a cake in the middle of it or something.
Yeah, so like it was my 21st birthday. It was a family gathering, so it started like 4 in the afternoon. Qualifier started at 6. So we made all like the speeches at 5:30 and stuff. And then at 6 I rush upstairs, play my first game, and I rush downstairs. Scoff up some dinner, really quickly. Everyone else is like, "Oh, how are you going, Sean? Did you win?" I'm like, yeah, I won my first game, yeah. I run back upstairs, play my second game, win that, run back down, do some like photos of me cutting the cake ceremoniously. Don't eat any because I'm like allergic to it. But either way,
That's amazing.
then run back upstairs,
And then you qualify.
and then in the middle. No, it's in the middle of the third series. I'm like, I need a break. They're wanting a family photo.
Was this against Hut, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
I totally remember this because I was casting it, and in our years the producer was like, "Yep, we have to take a break now." I was like, "Okay, so guys, apparently we're going into a quick break. We'll be right back." And we really looked at each other like, "Why the hell are we taking a break between a series?" And like we had no idea because like we're not in the game or anything. Like we just have like a massive screen to watch.
Yeah.
So we heard after that you were cutting cake and stuff, so taking photos.
Yeah, that was a family photo, that one. So.
Okay. I see how it is. Delaying your games for the family. God, you're such a nice guy.
But then after that, everyone left and it was like clear sailing,
Clear sailing, yeah.
So.
Super simple. I mean, yeah, you had a pretty clear sailing in the bracket as well, right? So I guess the two events, just to clarify what you qualified for, were IEM Pyeongchang, of course, which we're going to be talking about a little bit because it's a super interesting event in general, but also for the WESG APAC Regional Finals, which is also super interesting. It's obviously almost one of the most interesting kind of parts of WESG prior to the global finals, because I mean Europe's kind of interesting, but because of the way the qualifiers work, it's very kind of clear cut who's going to qualify usually, or at least there's like 8 players you expect to qualify, and then the last 4 spots up for grabs. But I think in APAC it's a little bit more kind of out there, and you got the Koreans playing and all sorts. It's really interesting. So, which was first for you? Was it the IEM qualifier?
The IEM qualifier was first, and then the following day was WSG.
Oh, that's so nicely scheduled for you, one day after the other.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the IEM qualifier then. So. I mean, you had a pretty clear-cut run as I battled to get it up. I mean, I know this bracket better than any other because I actually casted it. You just dropped one. Did you drop one map along the way, or did you lose a map to Vivid as well?
I did lose a map to Vivid, actually.
Yeah, see, Wikipedia is wrong, and I knew that because I remember checking the ESL site. Checking it out. So yeah, you had a little bit of a, I guess not kind of like a super rough. It was like not super clean because you dropped a couple maps, but you still like ran through in the grand finals 3-0. You didn't lose a series, of course. So
yeah,
I mean, going into a qualifier like this, you're usually kind of right now I'd say the heavy favorite in the Oceania scene, especially with Aigers kind of switching to Zerg. Cypher obviously has always been a big name, but he's sort of like doesn't deliver as often as he maybe should. So I think definitely on this patch as well, you came in as a heavy favorite. Does that put any kind of extra pressure on you? Does it make you worry at all? Like, do you feel as though it just kind of makes it more difficult in a way that you're expected to win this?
I mean, I think, yeah, I am expected, and going into it, I thought, actually, I wasn't going to be too upset if I didn't qualify, but I wanted to at least qualify for one of the 2 events. So qualifying for both really made me happy. And I mean, I had some rough games in the IEM bracket. I'll blame because I was at a birthday party, Wasn't the best conditions. But I managed to get through, and that's all that really matters in the end. So
no, I mean, at the end of the day, you actually got through pretty with like room to spare, right? Like you came through the winner bracket. Definitely. In the grand final, it was 3-0 as well. Like you didn't have to go through the lower bracket at all. Yeah, just I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, these formats are kind of brutal, right? Like it's double elimination, sure, but goddamn, like the winner bracket advantage is huge. You go into a best of 5 in the grand finals with a 1-0 lead, like. That must feel pretty great as well, right? Like starting up 1-0 in a best of 5 series to qualify.
Yeah, like I mean, you would think it would feel really good, and obviously it really helped out. But when you with only 1 spot to qualify, and in all the other WCS events this year, the last 2 that I qualified for, I went through the winners bracket, right, and qualified straight away. But then I lost in the finals, even with a 1-0 advantage. So,
so it's like sort of like a mental thing.
It's the probe curse, and now that I'm on Legacy, it's the legacy curse as well. We always finish second, apparently, So,
so you brought it up on your team.
I was a bit worried. Yes, that's it, yeah.
So
I was a bit worried, yeah.
Okay. So a little bit worried, but I mean, I guess he did have some really close games. Like, was it Cypher you played on Catalyst in that first game?
Oh my
And
god, yeah.
this game, like, I don't know how you held on. Like, I don't know how you
It was
did
so
anything.
sloppy.
It was insane, dude. Like, you're like down like 40 supply. He's pushing. You killed your third base once already. He's pushing your third base again, and realistically, like, it's gonna die. He's got like 7 mines set up. He's got like Liberate in the sky. He's got Bio, and you literally have like some. I don't even know. Like, you had like a Stalker or two, like a handful of
No,
like,
yeah, there was
you
like
were
5
so dead.
stalkers, a
Yeah.
sentry, and like 3 disruptors. That was it.
These disruptors just put in like the work of the century. Then you get like a zealot warp in and you just push him back, but it's still like, well, Cypher's doing fine. And then these
Yeah, he has a third base,
these disruptors just don't stop flying at the guy, and he ends up not killing your third base. Suddenly the supplies are even. This might be one of the craziest games I actually casted this year, like in terms of like comeback potential and stuff, and like all of that, because your comeback potential was so dead. Like, you were dead. If I don't know what you were thinking at that time, but like
I didn't think I was behind at all.
you didn't think you were behind at all?
No, I thought I was losing,
Right.
but I didn't realize I was down like 40 supply.
Yeah, it was like I think as well it was like really brutal, because I feel as though if you did think that, maybe you might have just been like, oh well, like you throw one disruptor in like lackluster and then you like GG, but you really like battled until the very end. It was it was pretty sick.
I actually thought I had lost, so
yeah, no,
but I
it
didn't
was
think
really
I was that
crazy.
far behind. That was the thing. I thought he was much lower supply than he actually was. So
Oh, that's it's always interesting how that works out, kind of hearing it from the player's side of things, when, especially like as the caster, when we've sort of assumed things as well, like that sort of stuff. It's always interesting to hear, kind of where you were at mentally in terms of the series and the game. So let's just talk about Pyeongchang quickly. I mean, obviously a super interesting event. It's kind of being held in the run up to the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, obviously, at the start of February. Like, I mean, how does it feel to be part of what may be kind of the first real push for having like Olympic esports or something along those lines?
yeah, well, I think that's definitely what it is. So I feel quite special and privileged to be a part of this, and
Do you think
really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Do you think it's cool to be able to like go in and be like, I guess like nowadays, like obviously you go and like you represent yourself and you represent your team, and I guess for you maybe this is kind of a more natural thing, but like at WCS events you are like the Oceanic Hope, the Australian Hope, right? So maybe this isn't kind of too unfamiliar for you, but like for this event, obviously like you kind of ride with your country on your shoulders, like you carry them, you represent them. So does that have like an extra little kind of bit of kind of specialness to it in some ways, or is it just something you're used to? Because again, like I guess the Oceanic scene doesn't have a ton of players at WCS events to cheer for, anyways, right now. I guess.
Yeah, well, you're right in the fact that at WCS events I'm already, the Australian.
Yeah.
And it's what everyone, from down under cheers for. But I mean, at this event, which is different to the other events, you are actually representing your country. That's come out in the news and in the rules that you're not representing your team, you're actually representing your country at this. So I think, it would be really cool. Also seeing everyone else represent their country as well, not just me being Australian. But yeah, it's gonna be sick. Good. I'm looking forward to it, man.
I think it's gonna be something really special. I think we're really kind of kind of lucky to be kind of the game that's involved in this big thing that's in the run up to the Winter Olympics and so on. Like, it's super awesome that Intel are putting it on. So I'm super hyped. It's going to be a really cool tournament. Like, and I think I don't know what you think about the overall format, but obviously the qualifiers are kind of brutal. But once you actually get there, like the player list is going to be so kind of diverse and interesting. Like, there's going to be like obviously 2 Korean players plus like some of the very best from Europe. I really feel like everyone who's qualifying has a real shot at like making it out of groups, really, depending on what group they get. Honestly, like maybe if you get a group of like a Korean player and Showtime, and then a very it can be pretty tough, right? But like
it could be a bit dicey. Yeah.
There's some groups that I can imagine there being groups where pretty much anyone can get out of them on a good day. So I don't know what you think of. Maybe, I mean, we don't have the full player list right now. We've only got 8 players, but do you think it's going to be a really interesting tournament in that kind of light? Because I think it's going to be really refreshing to see something that isn't just the same set of, more or less like WCS circuit right now is like the same set of foreigners going at it, or at least this year it felt like it became the same set of foreigners just going at it every time in the round of 16, etc.
Yeah, so I think it's almost like a mini WESG. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it sort of feels like it that way for you, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's going to be really cool seeing um, a nice representation from all regions.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if uh, Chinese play does well, Nice does well, Demi does well. They can definitely take games off people.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool. I think like I say, like I think like someone like Demi, for example, is not someone who everyone will look at and be like, oh yeah, he can get out of group. But I think he can definitely win maps. And you can win one map. All you need to do is win two in a series, and you're through a game, right? Like it's kind of obviously it's not as simply done as it is to say, but I think when you're going into an event and you're really going to practice, like obviously Demi is, right, because this is probably his biggest chance he's ever had at a tournament. I think,
Yep.
I think everyone becomes very, very scary. So you did mention WSG as well, which is kind of the other event you qualified for. Again, kind of really cool to see this kind of event come back this year. They've even kind of really kind of just spiced it up a bit and made everything a little bit bigger, where basically the way WSG works is there's a bunch of regional qualifiers, then you go into your regional finals. So for example, there's an Australian qualifier which leads to the Asia Pacific finals, and there's also European finals, North and South American finals, and African finals, and then each of those regional finals lead into the global finals event, which is 32 players. So it's really like a really cool kind of set of stages. And well, you've kind of gone through the first stage just this past week as well with the victory there. I don't know what you thought, but obviously a fairly simple bracket, I think. I mean, Aigers and Cypher doesn't sound simple, but when you already beat the guys a couple of times this week, or maybe not Aigers, but I'm not sure where Aigers Zerg really is at the moment.
Aigers Zerg is actually like really good, but obviously Protoss Zerg is my best matchup, and not really on my level in that sense. I taught him how good disruptors were against Zerg, by the way. He was very surprised.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy in every matchup right now, I think.
But it was. I mean, the bracket was silly. We had Seether, yours, Igaz, and I on the same side of the bracket. Seether and yours playing a best of one in the round of 16.
And would you say you guys are like top 4 Australia-ish, or?
Well, I think HUD is definitely
top 4 as well.
HUD's really good against Seether and TBT, so
right, okay.
Maybe he gets pushed up a bit that way, but HUD's on a roll as well, so he's probably up there, in top 3 even at the moment. So
pretty stacked. I was actually thinking about this. Like, it is a pretty stacked side of the bracket. You just make it look so easy, just 2-0, 2-0, no problem. 2 best of 3s and you go into China.
The games against Seether were very clean. Well, not so much clean, but clear cut, as opposed to the previous day, maybe.
Okay. You went 40 supply down, kind of fighting for your life.
No.
Okay, fair enough. That's cool to hear. I mean, don't want to stick too long in the qualifiers, because I guess we just talked about kind of qualifying and stuff. IEM, it's a very similar sort of experience, I guess. Like, you kind of qualify, obviously this time you go to... I mean, even the Asia Pacific Regional Finals is a big event on its own. It'll have about $40,000 prize pool, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
So, it's a pretty big deal. Another really cool chance to represent yourself. Hut was actually the other Australian player to qualify, which, as you mentioned, he's been on a bit of a roll, so a pretty cool opportunity for him, I would imagine, as well. And I mean, just any thoughts on WSG? Because I really like the WSG format. Obviously, it kind of doesn't feel so unique now because IEM's come along and doing a similar sort of thing. But I kind of have really liked WSG since it first came around. I'm not sure what you feel about it, or just kind of the opportunity it gives.
I mean, this year I'm feeling much better about it, but last year we had the exact same issue where me, Seether, and Igaz all got put on the same side of the bracket.
Ah, really?
And I lost like 3-2 against Seether to not qualify.
So this is actually my biggest issue with it, because I feel as though the European NA qualifiers are all really good. Like, if the EU qualifies, like kind of 1 player qualifies and there's like 8 players or so, it's like single elimination or something, which sort of makes sense, but best of 3s and a best of 5. But if there's like more than like a certain number of players, it goes into double elimination. Or if there's more than 1 spot in the line, it's double elimination.
It has to be,
And I think it doesn't take long to if you take this Australian qualifier for WSG this time, just to put in perspective, there was I think 8, 9, 10, 11 players signed up and checked in, I guess. So 11 players, you run that in double elim, like you can do that in 5 hours max. Like unless you get really unlucky, or you have a bad admin who doesn't start the games or something. Like this is done in 5 hours. Like I just don't understand it. Like the EU and NA qualifiers, I know that basically they're being ran by different people, but the EU and NA ones seem really good. Like I don't think anyone really complains about it. But it really feels as though like you could have a double elim and it just makes it so much fairer for everyone. Like it eliminates the bracket look. Like it gives you, if you hit that one bad matchup, it doesn't screw you over. I don't know. It's a little bit brutal. Like even in this, like they do single elim and then they put best of ones in the round of 16. Like, guys, are you crazy?
The biggest joke was the Korean tournament.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about this quickly, actually, because I was talking about this over the weekend when I was in Poland with Roddy. I was like, are they serious? TY, the defending champion of this tournament, gets knocked out in a best of one against Dark? Like, I'm not saying that TY should, not get knocked out by Dark, but to get knocked out in a best of one by Dark in a single elimination stage of the bracket is just like you flipping crazy? I don't even know.
And even stage 2 was single elim.
Single elim, best of 3. When you need 3 players to qualify as well from Korea, it's like double elimination literally lends itself to qualifying more than 2 players because it gives you a third place match naturally, right? Like you don't have to put in a qualifying match, whatever. It's just it's so silly. Like how come when Forte and Dark lose a series, these guys get to kind of go again to qualify, whereas Zest and people lost a series the round before and they don't get a second life,
Definitely.
It's really, again, I'm not surprised by the players who qualified. Like Mario Classic and Dark are top-notch players. I don't think anyone's going to complain about having those guys, but Jesus, what a way to ruin a great qualifier, I think. I actually got the replays of this event to cast. I asked for permission and they didn't get back to me, so I think I'm just going to cast them anyways, because honestly, I don't think WSG actually care. But just based on this format that they put out, come on, guys, best of ones, best of, I just don't know. There's not really much to say about it, because I think we both agree it's just stupid, and there's much better ways to do it. I don't know. You're just having really good players eliminated on the back of a best of one. Jachi loses to Stats loses in the first round to Patience, best of one. What? Alive, top 4 Katowice this year, best of one, out in the first round to Solar. And these guys are all in the same section of the bracket. Solar, Stats, Patience, Jachi. What the flip? Maru knocks out SOS. I don't know. Obviously you're gonna have some brutal matchups, but come on, just double elimination. At least run it in best of 3s. Did they really just not want to admin this for more than 20 minutes? I don't know.
Well, for example, I had a look, and the Australian qualifier took 2 hours to play.
Yeah. But so I imagine it could have taken much less, even though,
Yeah.
Did they make you wait to
if
be
they
casted,
made it all
or
best of one?
But even it's just silly. 2 hours is really nothing. And I'm pretty sure most players, when they have this qualifier, they set aside 4 to 5 hours to play, right? Because that's how long it could realistically take. And past that's a bit ridiculous, but like I say, a double elim bracket, as long as you have the admins there to keep things rolling, you don't hold too many games for the stream. It's gonna run fine in 4 or 5 hours. I just casted a bunch of double elim brackets of WSG qualifiers, in EU and NA. It's just, I don't know. The APAC region, just whoever's running the APAC region just needs to kind of get a bit more on the level of realism, I guess, with the rest of the regions.
I think it's run by different people to Europe and...
Yeah, it is. Europe and NA is run by StarLadder, and I think the APAC one's just run by kind of... literally just by the WSG organizers. They actually just do it themselves, or they hand it out to third parties or something. You just don't obviously care as much as StarLadder do in terms of making a good quality event in EU and NA. So it's pretty crazy. Anyways, sorry.
Well, from what I have heard, the main events though do run the LANs run really well. So
yeah, I think so. I think
it's just the qualifying stuff.
I think I remember the APAC. I actually cast the APAC finals last year, which was actually last year I cast them because I was actually in America at the time. I cast them with Fear Dragon, and it was the event itself looked pretty smooth. Maybe there's some downtime, etc. But in general, when it was time for the StarCraft matches to go, the StarCraft players walked on stage. The StarCraft players played their games. it looked good, you know, like it was a good stage, it was a good setup. I think like they look after the players very well. And I just think like the online section, the qualifiers are a bit funky.
Bit iffy.
Bit iffy. Alright, something else that was a bit iffy. We'll just go through this one quickly just because it is the talk of the day. DQ'd players from the North America region of IEM Pyeongchang. So basically, here's the outlay of the situation is that IEM Pyeongchang and WESG have a bit of a schedule issue where WESG was scheduled for the 1st to the 4th and has been for a long time. It was announced in August. So they can't really move. And IEM Pyeongchang is obviously kind of restricted by the Winter Olympics when it can run, and these big sponsors saying that they have to run on certain days. And so I think originally it was meant to run from the 2nd to the 7th, but they reduced it to the 5th to the 7th instead. So now obviously you've got these two events overlapping, and with the way time zones work, if you finish in the WSG America Finals, pretty much that ends as Pyeongchang starts, because there's like a 15-hour plus difference between them, if not more, I think. I think it's like 16, 17.
Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, it's like 16 or 17 hours. So if you finish in America and California on like in the evening, Pyeongchang is literally starting day one. So if you were playing both, you'd have less than 24 hours to travel to Korea and get ready into play. And so the issue is basically Scarlet, Jon Snow, Neeb, and Major, or Special, were already qualified for WSG, and they said, like, hey, we're going to play WSG if there's a choice, but is there a way we can play in both? And when it came around to the North American qualifiers, apparently the person who knew whether they could play in both or not, because they hadn't been given a clear answer, was asleep, and so the admin just DQ'd them from the qualifier, and then this whole drama started up of ESL apparently not having their shit together, and people are kind of flaming all sorts of nonsense. So, I mean, my view on it is, like, obviously it flipping sucks, but they sort of I mean, this is like a very brutal point of view. Like, it really sucks that these events overlap, but at the end of the day, like, they're working on big, like, sponsors and they're working on timelines they're given. The players decide to play in one event. That's the event they chose to play in, right? And like,
yeah, so like,
yeah, I mean, let's get your point of view, because you're a player, right? So you have a better point of view than me.
Yeah, well, so people asking or complaining about scheduling conflicts is just like ridiculous, really. Like, IEM cannot run this event at any other time. It has to be before the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that WSG, like, ended up like this. And I'm not saying the situation was handled well, but people asking for complaining about scheduling conflicts is a bit ridiculous. And even people saying, they can fly there for day 2. I mean, realistically,
I mean, but that just doesn't work. Like, I mean, yourself at these big events, like, there's media days where you actually, like, you're literally there because at some point they're going to ask you to take a photo, maybe they do a video to make the event good, and especially something like Pyeongchang, like, this is a huge
This
event.
is the most important event in terms of media.
Oh no, exactly. It's really kind of huge. Like, you need it to be like a good show. Like, they're gonna have video interviews with like every player probably, or most players, right? Because they have stories to tell, unique stories. They're gonna like sell the player story in the aspect of like representing your country. Yeah, they're gonna want a media day. So even if WSG ended a day early and you arrive on day 1, even then, I think, like, realistically, like, can you even rig the groups for like 4 players to, like,
yeah, exactly right. It gets very iffy then.
Exactly right, because I imagine already they're going to want to split up the US players, right? But I would also imagine they're going to try and put the Canadian players in separate groups as well, so that it's like, I don't know if this is exactly how they'll do it, but I'd imagine they'd try and put like maybe a USA player in Group A and B, and then Canadian players in like Group C and D, because that's sort of like a similar region, in terms of like proximity. And again, I'm not sure if that's exactly how they'll do it, but I imagine it could be. Either way, to cover 4 players and to put them all into 2 groups which are going to play on the second, it just doesn't work like that. Like, it's like a big offline event. Like, you can't just have players flying in like a day later than the rest, and because then the big thing will be like, oh well, this guy had to play on like 0 sleep. That's not fair. IEM, like, it's silly.
Yeah, and I mean, it might not just be the North Americans. I mean, let's say Diego qualifies, Killers qualifies.
I mean, it's already that sort of issue, right? Like, where right now it's already like, I guess Special and Neeb and so on, but like, yeah, like you say, it could be Killzer as well. If he qualified for South America, which is obviously very realistic, then it's another player, and then you're talking about 5 players maybe, or 6 players potentially, who have an overlap, and it's like, well, really? Like, that's kind of insane. Like, it's really an unfortunate situation. I really feel for the players, and I completely believe like IEM probably could have done a better job of just saying, "Hey guys,
Definitely.
look, here's the deal. We just don't think you can play. We just can't really accommodate you. So, you can't play in the qualifier, But the problem was they turned up to play in the qualifier, then they got DQ'd or something, or they got DQ'd like an hour before, and so they tried to replace people, and people didn't get replaced in time. And they'd already knocked some people out as well, Like, for example, I guess like indirectly, No Regret's a good example because No Regret lost to Starkiller, and so No Regret couldn't be a replacement because Starkiller was still in the main qualifier, right? But say those four players hadn't played, the four DQ players hadn't played in stage one, No Regret would have got a different seed, and maybe that allows him to get into the main qualifier anyways. And then obviously it's very different. So I think that whole fiasco definitely could be dealt with better. But
Yes,
god
definitely.
damn,
I think
but the view of just people like being like, oh god, ESL, why would you do this? Why would you DQ these players? Like, this is insane. Like, reset, like, it just doesn't work like that. People like, it's really, really kind of gets to me, I guess.
yeah. Like, I think the rerun of the qualifier could have been done better.
I think realistically they could have delayed. They could have just said, look, guys, we've really got a mess here because players are getting DQ'd.
Yeah.
Like, we got to delay it or something, but like at the same time they're probably on a strict schedule as well and stuff like this. And
well, yeah, and at the same time, I mean, what weekend is free? Remember Leipzig qualifiers?
Leipzig,
Like,
I mean, that's the thing as well, right? It's like you change it to
it's
one
too
day,
much.
and then other players are going to complain. Like, there is no pretty way out of this, but it's really blown up into something a lot bigger than I think it needs to be.
I agree.
And maybe IEM could have talked better to WSG, and I mean that's not even what I'm really kind of focused on. It's just the negativity that's coming out of it. It's like, holy shit! Like, some people are attacking ESL like ESL are the devil and that have never done anything for StarCraft. It's like, how dare you just leech our game because Blizzard make you? It's like, guys, like, do you want ESL to never run an event again? Because that's how ESL will never run an event again. Like, Apollo must be reading our StarCraft right now and be like, Jesus flipping Christ! Like, get me out of here. Like, I'm not coming back to this place. It's really kind of insane. I don't know. Like, obviously it's because it's very popular players getting DQ'd, but like the community backlash is just like, obviously I'm not saying don't be upset, don't be like, oh yeah, this is fine, but like, don't be like ESL are ruining StarCraft, because that's just not true. Like, shit happened and this was a really bad situation that has a really difficult way to be figured out. Like, it's not pretty. Alright. Well, I mean, let's move on. I mean, we've already talked a lot, so just kind of skim over this next one we're going to talk about. But start of the year is very busy for you. Obviously, you've got a lot of events coming up. Hoping to qualify for Leipzig in January. Going to be playing in WSG, of course, in China. You're going to be playing IEM in Korea. Like, I mean, so you actually go from like what from? I guess you go to China in the middle of January.
So, well, this is my month, right?
This is your month.
So I'm going to America to stay at the Root House for this time period as well. So I fly to America, then I fly to China, then the next weekend I go to Cheesadelphia. Next weekend, if I qualify, I go to Germany. The next weekend I go to South Korea for IEM Pyeongchang.
That's
I'm just going to be in a constant state of jet lag.
It's almost at the point where they may as well just fly you from event to event rather than like back.
I reckon it'll make it easy.
Yeah, like it's kind of crazy. But like, I mean, like, the thing is, you don't even have short travel in there. Like, California to China and California to Korea isn't short. It's like a good 12 hours. Yeah. Like, I guess it's short for you, right? It's like
it is. It would be lovely. I look forward to it.
The casual 13-hour flight is like your favorite one now because you've never been on just a 13-hour trip.
That's it.
That's kind of crazy, but yeah, super busy and awesome that you mentioned it, that you're staying in the Root House. Obviously, kind of a cool opportunity. So you're going to be staying there long after you're done traveling as well, or?
Yeah, so I'm definitely staying there until the end of February, and then we'll see what happens beyond that.
Awesome stuff. Well, again, I'm not going to dwell on this too much. I guess there isn't actually too much more to say after we've already talked about it. Just super busy times. I mean, I think if I ask most players this, they'd probably be like, oh yeah, that's so much travel. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You're probably like, oh yeah, this is like usually just one European event for me, so spreading it across a month is completely fine.
And I think one thing to note about the busyness of the time as well, I mean, they sort of tried to free up the middle of the year, right? Or that was the
Yeah.
complete last year.
So
So
it'll be interesting, I think, to see where the other WCS events lie, because you've also
yeah.
got to remember, like, there's also not going to be like an IEM Pyeongchang, and there's also not going to be like a WSG in the middle of the year, right? So all of a sudden, the middle of the year becomes a lot more open, which I actually think they're maybe trying to do because they want to promote more event organizers to come into StarCraft again, and they want to be able to say, look, this time, if you've got an event in this time zone, it's perfect because we're not going to have WCS qualifiers or Challenger. They're not going to be jetting off to another event the day before. Like, I think they want to be able to say to other organizers, like, hey, come get into StarCraft, like, at some point in the year where you actually have events, because last year you couldn't, and this year we're going to try and make it so that you can, so... I think that'd be kind of nice.
I agree.
It's kind of nice for... I was just going to say, it's kind of nice for kind of the online community content creators as well, because, like,
Yeah, that's
usually December and January and November, like, you can see it right now. Like, I've run more events than usual, Base Trade have run a bunch of events, and it's all because, like, this is when we can run a bunch of events, because people aren't usually traveling, and there's not usually qualifiers. But now there is qualifiers. It just means that, obviously, it kind of sucks right now, because we're like, well, this is the time we're meant to run stuff, but it just means that, like, later on, there's going to be more time for us to run more stuff as well, which is kind of sick, I think.
Yeah, one thing to remember as well is, like, we didn't have Nation Wars this year, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing that I'm disappointed that we haven't had.
Can you imagine there was Nation Wars, though? Holy crap.
Oh, it would be actually...
I actually think
it
it'd
would
be impossible.
It wouldn't work, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why it hasn't happened.
Maybe Nation Wars will come in through the summer instead.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'd be because I'd be very surprised if they didn't if they haven't at least talked about doing Nation Wars again, because people love that event. I'm pretty sure Blizzard loved the event, the players loved the event. So I imagine it's something that's on the radar somewhere, but maybe just finding a better time, or maybe they've talked to Blizzard and Blizzard have said, hey, look, like this month here, much better for you than doing it in January or December.
Yeah, and Australia's going to win the next one. Just letting you know.
Okay, I'm just hoping that the Team UK actually gets out the qualifier for once.
We'll meet up in the finals, okay?
Meet up in the finals. We've come so close to getting out the qualifier so many times. It's really insane. Or maybe one year we got out the qualifier and we nearly got out of groups. Like, we get really close. I think we lost to New Zealand like 3-2 one year when we had Clad the Lad. And then last year we lost to America 3-2 when the Muslim took a map off Neeb. It was really sick.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Team UK, man, we always get so close, yet we end up so far. Rip. Alright, talking about, I guess, I just mentioned some events that I've been running, but you run your own tournament as well, which is about accumulating its end of year or end of season, I don't know how you actually call it, but the championship stage. Just give us a rundown of your event, what's going on, what's the championship looking like?
Yeah, so of course the Probe StarCraft League it does have its championship event coming up this weekend, and which is a $3,000 open bracket, group stage, then championship bracket 2-day event, which is going to be really sick. Some of the best players from Australia and New Zealand flying in. So I'm looking really forward to it. Of course, I'm not playing in it because maybe it's a bit of a conflict of interest, but
just a little one.
Just a little one. I wouldn't want to win my own money, although I guess that's one way to like sustain the tournament. I just
win the money back.
But yeah, it's coming to an end after 6 to 8 months of monthly online tournaments, 2 other LANs as well, and some occasional longer bracket tournaments as well.
Yeah, I've been. I wouldn't lie. Like, I wouldn't say I followed this tournament like all the way through or anything, but like I've been hearing about it so much in terms of like seeing an event here, seeing an event there. Like all of a sudden you have, one tournament that's offline, and you have another LAN, and you have your monthly finals, which is like a big group stage event as well, right? Or there's not groups, but it's like a big bracket.
Big bracket, yeah.
Big bracket. Yeah, it's really cool. It's that sort of thing I love. So. For example, I talk about this a lot. I really love the OSC League because I really love the way that it builds up throughout like an entire year and ends in a big championship, And I really love what you've done as well, where it's like month to month is like, month to month is like, oh yeah, here's this and here's that, and like you can play in this and that, and then there's like maybe the big online qualifier, you can play the big online event or the big LAN event, and all the time you're just earning your way into the championship, and then it has this big accumulation. You have an entire story to talk about, I think it's I just honestly think it's really awesome. Like I have this dream of doing something similar someday, like a big like league sort of focus thing. It's just so difficult though. Like I imagine it must be like really tough to organize and like find dates for everything and stuff.
Yeah, so when I was organizing, I tried to make it as simple as possible, especially for like the monthly stuff.
Mhm.
So it's it's just like a 16-player single elimination bracket. We cast from replays as well, just to make things as simple as possible for the players.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, lands you can be a bit more rigorous and whatnot because you do it all on the day, sort of. But yeah, I really like this monthly format. Just some constant competition that gets people involved.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think especially for like a scene like the kind of like the oceanic region, I guess, is really kind of it's really interesting, I guess, because like you've got like a lot of players who will play in it, and you've got a lot of players who will kind of sign up every single time. And it's very difficult to find, I guess, even time to do something like that in Europe because players will just not always have the time to commit to like the weekly event or the monthly event and so on. So it's really interesting. Like I really want to look at doing something similar, but it's just so difficult to, I think, just fund as well in general. It's very difficult to justify, and it's very difficult to find the sponsor things nowadays. One thing I've really been looking at myself to bring back is obviously like the team league, and I really want to make the team league something which is like more focused around, like, not in the same way as like playing stuff regularly, but like it has a storyline, because I really feel like, if I was an Australian fan, I'm pretty sure I would be like PSL #1 fan, because I'd be like, whoa, oh my god, this guy's just won this event, or this guy's doing well and he might make the fun, like, because if that's like your local scene, it's like super like awesome to follow. And like I say, like for me, like I wouldn't tune into like maybe an Australian, or I wouldn't have heard about like an Australian weekly cup maybe, but for this, like I've heard about it, like I know about it, and like already that has more of an impact than say the usual sort of events that I run. So good job, bro. I'm proud.
Oh, thanks, man.
As an event organizer, I'm actually amazed that you've organized like all of this stuff. It's like I would be having like heart palpitations, like, oh my god, I've got to organize like 15 events for one thing that leads into an offline events as well. Holy shit, like I couldn't even begin to think of organizing an offline event properly. It's it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean,
yeah.
one thing is though that I organized it to fill a gap.
Yeah.
In the scene. And so you're talking about Europe. Europe does have a lot of stuff. We were sort of lacking.
Yeah.
Some constant monthly stuff.
Yeah,
some
I
land,
think
so
I think it's the right thing to do, right? Yeah, it's true. Like I think like you definitely had the opportunity. You had to kind of fill that opportunity, which you did. It's actually funny you mentioned Europe has loads of stuff, but I feel like right now Europe actually has less online cups than ever because it's just so much easier to run Korean events and justify it right now. Like from the very honest point of view of like a tournament organizer, I guess. Like if I'm gonna throw $100 an event, like am I gonna throw it at a European event or am I gonna throw it at a Korean one? Well, Korean's gonna have a better return of investment. And also the European ones like really get shitty sign-ups sometimes, I think, so it's interesting. It's actually, I guess not really got anything to do with anything, but just as I mentioned, it's like really weird that some days you'll run a $100 EU Cup and you'll get like Snooch, Showtime, Youth Thermal, like everyone will be signed up to this tournament, right? And the next day you'll run a $100 Cup and it's like, you get maybe like Bly, you get like the online guys who play and everything, but no one else. It's like, I don't know, guy. Like
you always get Bly.
It's like, yeah, you always get Bly. But like, you look at it, you're like, well, I don't know. Like, there's nothing on. Like, it's not a different day of the week. Like, I don't know, what's going on? But yeah, really awesome to see that event's doing well. You think it's going to be able to come back for another year or so? Is that the plan? Or
I cannot confirm or deny anything.
Okay.
It may take a bit of a while with me traveling to pick back up.
Yeah, I imagine that's one of the crazy things as well. Like being able to run this, like you know, if I ran something like this, I'd be like, oh my god, and I like spend my days organizing events and scheduling stuff, you know. I like to do this is always like while you're a player as well, and like qualifying for WCS events and going on like 50-hour journeys just to play a game or two. It's it's really insane, like really awesome.
I
All
mean,
right.
that's one thing I actually didn't like. I went to Valencia this year, and then I stayed for Home Story Cup the next week.
Uh-huh.
And I was actually running my LAN that weekend. And I didn't like not being there, not running
Yep.
it and controlling it myself. So, with me traveling at the start of this next year, I'm not going to be running LANs because I don't have the direct control over it.
No,
But
no, it
we'll
makes
just
sense.
have to wait and see for the rest of the year. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm not going to keep you for too much longer because we've already managed it. See, you know when I told you originally this was going to be like 30 minutes, the same might go to 40. This is why I say this, because like we start talking and I just keep talking forever. I just don't shut up. But
It's good.
no, it's good. This is why I really love this format as well, by the way, because it's like, so, you know, I used to try and do a talk show thing. I just felt it was like so like. It was so scripted, like, hey guys, so this event was on, what did you think of that? And someone's like, oh, I didn't watch it. And the other guy's like, oh yeah, that game was cool. It was like, it's really shit. And this, we just talk StarCraft and stuff, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, I like it. I'm just completely like plugging my own format right here, but people are used to it. I do this like every episode. I'm like, hey, isn't this format really awesome? Just try to justify myself, like, yeah, I guess so. I don't really know. Like,
Yeah, the comments.
Yeah.
Comments in the bottom. Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, it's just like, Woody, will you just shut the fuck up and actually ask him something useful? Okay, guys, I get it. I mean, just to wrap it up, then let's talk a little bit about kind of just the state of gameplay, I guess, at the moment, because we talked a lot about, you know, events and coming up and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously, gameplay is a big thing, and we just had, you know, I guess fairly recently the big patch, and we've had a couple of fixes here and there. I mean, what are your thoughts right now on just Protoss stuff in general? Anything you enjoy and anything you think is really kind of ridiculous, or what are you thinking?
Yeah,
Do you think
so-
PvT is completely fucked, or do you think it's actually a bit better than people make it out to be?
I think it's a bit better than people make it out to be. I agree that some things are completely fucked, but as these next wave of changes come through, I think it will probably be in a spot to just leave it for quite a while. Because I think Terran actually is fine in the mid game. It's just that they always fall behind because Chrono Boost is just like so strong.
Yeah.
So, and like, it's interesting. Just because Chrono Boost is so strong, you almost can't read into the rest of the game because Protoss is just like so far ahead. And so even just like a small delay of 30 seconds or something like this makes a huge difference in the viability of Terran, for example.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the issue a lot of people are having right now. I know I talked to Optimus a bit, and he just says like, well, you know, if I can't have a good early game because Protoss just gets ahead, and there's nothing really I can do to stop them, or you know, sometimes I can derp some Hellions into their mineral line, and sure, I'm going to win the game because I've killed 25 workers, right? But a lot of the time I just come out the early game, and if Protoss plays well, like I can't do the damage, and so I end up being, you know, what usually wouldn't be behind. It'd just be sort of like, well, you know, I didn't take an advantage. But now there's no way to really kind of like do anything with that because Protoss have the Chrono Boost, and so rather than just being kind of like okay-ish on either side, the Protoss, or maybe the Protoss has a slight lead, the Protoss just has like an insane lead, and they build into what is just a strong mid-game army anyways, you know? And I think that's like, I guess, sort of the issue as well, perhaps, that Protoss just seems very, I guess, powerful at every stage of the game, because like early game you're kind of okay-ish right now. I guess is probably the weakest point in Protoss, like in terms of being able to take damage. But then you have this very strong kind of gateway phase of the game where you can just mass up a bunch of, you know, I'm being very generalized here, but you can get up a bunch of like stalkers and zealots, and you can play very just gateway heavy to deny further damage, and then all of a sudden you're getting your tech chrono dart behind it, and you end up with this very powerful army that Terrans have never liked dealing with. So I think that's what, from at least what I've heard, is what Terrans are sort of struggling with the most, just the whole concept of just not having a way to get into like a strongish mid game, and from there they just feel kind of behind already, I guess.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. And so I'm actually like a tiny bit against some of the changes coming up, like the Disruptor nerf.
Yeah, I think the Disruptor's kind of fine actually. Like, I think it's very fun at the moment.
Yeah, I think so too, and I would just nerf Chrono Boost. I'm not sold on changing the Stalkers. Like, it might just be like a timing thing for Stalkers, and if not, I would, I guess, go with the change that they've suggested. But like the Disruptor nerf just seems like we're over nerfing stuff too quickly.
I feel as though, like, why not just change the Chrono Boost and then leave it for another week or so, or a week or two, and just have a, an idea? Just because, like,
I think it's going to make a massive difference. Like,
yeah, I think immediately, like, you're not going to have such an effect on kind of early units and so on, so the Terran kind of gets that maybe early game ability just to do a little bit of damage once more, and so once again you can get to that point of having a bit of a stronger mid game, and then all of a sudden, like, maybe that's all you need. Like, it's I just feel like the Chrono Boost change will change a lot, and then maybe maybe it is fine. Maybe then you can tweak something else after. Like, it's only going to get better, right? So even if it's still not completely fixed, at least it's a bit better, and then you can look at it again and be like, okay, well, maybe we only need to change the Disruptor or the Stalker, or maybe it's just the Stalker and then everything else is fine. Sort of feels like they're making a big leap, but I mean, I guess in the positive way, at least they're looking at doing something. Like, I don't know, it's always tough to know what the kind of the right way to balance is. Like, is it best to make bigger changes? Is it best to make like little things and wait a while? I guess they're in a bit of a tough spot as well with WCS starting so soon. Even for some regions, it's already kind of started in kind of Taiwan and China, etc. Like qualifiers. It's a little bit brutal because like this is meant to be the time of the year where we figure out what happens after the big patch and maybe we change things again. And yet we're actually having these really important qualifiers for IEM. We're having really important qualifiers for for all sorts of things, and obviously that's a little bit brutal.
I mean, yes, it's different this year, but I mean, it was the exact same last year. They sort of said, like, oh, it's the preseason, it doesn't really matter, but we had, like, Nation Wars and...
Yeah, that's true.
And WESG as well, so it's never actually really been this super
I mean,
sparse time.
There's never, like, an ideal time, but I think in terms of, like, Blizzard point of view, it's like, let's try and at least keep WCS away from the massive changes and the massive imbalances or whatever, right? Because... yeah, I mean, exactly that, It's like WCS is their tournament, and it's the tournament they sell to the viewers as if you're going to watch a StarCraft 2 tournament, you should watch this one. Now, obviously, like, as a bit more hardcore StarCraft fans, like, obviously we can see that WSG is, like, the second biggest prize pool of the year, and all of this, and obviously Nation Wars is really cool, but, like, from Blizzard's point of view, like, they sell WCS, and that's the one that really matters, and that what you really need everything to be right for, so... it's pretty interesting. Outside of PvT, what you thinking? PvP okay? PvZ feeling good or?
I hate PvP.
Yeah, is it
early game?
Is it a bit of a mess now without the overcharge or?
I think it's quite a bit of a mess. I'm not the smartest PvP player though.
I've seen a lot of. I actually cast a ton of PvP lately, and it really feels as though PvP is just this sort of... it feels as though it's taking a step back into people are taking risks to be able to stay in the game, and so all of a sudden, like, I just feel as though I'm seeing, like, 1DT end the game a lot more again. Or I'm seeing, like, the free gate push just coming in and it's, like, end of the game. Like, it just seems, like, super volatile all over, and it's kind of crazy because PvP had become the most stable mirror matchup, I would say, which very often got to the later stage unless you had a very committed one-base attack, which was very infrequent. So it is really, really different to kind of see it just ending super early. Like, I think I casted like 3 best of 5 PvPs last week, and I think they were all over. Like, none of them were 3-0s. It was either 3-1 or 3-2, but yet they were all over within like 30-40 minutes. It was really fast.
It can be really one-sided, and like obviously a bit of this is people just don't know the new patch. Like, we're still learning a whole bunch, but it still feels a bit iffy.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, I mean, removing the Fortnite overcharge was always going to be a big change, right?
Yes,
but like this is obviously like the matchup it probably affects the most because PvP has always been that position of difficulty to get into the later stage of the game. Like, for example, before overcharge at all, we had 4-gate against 4-gate, and that was PvP. And you had like the meta game of like it switched a little bit of like away from 4-gate versus 4-gate because the meta was to 4-gate, so you'd go for like anti 4-gate builds and stuff like.
Yeah, back in 2011. But I mean, by 2012, we had a very established PvP non-4 gate metagame. Like, you would have one base Colossus. Oh my god. Nah, but you do like Blink Robo and Stargate as well, Phoenix.
I mean, yeah, it got a bit more figured out. I just.
And then you did Sentry Expands as well.
Yeah,
I remember.
That's true.
Like Creator.
I guess I kind of forgot about the 2012 of PvP, I guess. Because I guess in 2013, HOTS is what I'm thinking of when Overcharge came in and things felt a lot more. Then we got to that stage of like Mass Colossi and Mass Colossi for a long time. I guess that started in Wings a little bit, but it was really kind of prevalent in HOTS because we got to late game PvP so much more, I guess.
Yeah, the 888, you know.
Yeah, the 8 Colossi, 8 Immortals.
8 Archons. Well, we got like 12 Archons.
Yeah, you get as many Archons as you could, yeah. That was sick. Like that I never forget the moment where, or like the week or two where all of a sudden everyone realized, like, holy shit! After 8 Colossi, instead of building like 8 more Colossi, if I build 8 Immortals Rain, I'm just gonna murder everybody.
Yeah, Rain, exactly. Rain figured it out.
Yeah, it was Rain. He was just like, yeah, if I add 8 Immortals in, I'll just kill all your Colossi in like 2 shots. And everyone's like, whoa. It was like mind blowing. It was like literally a revolutionary time in PvP that you didn't just keep building Colossi. Ah, that's crazy. I was on like Cloud Kingdom and stuff. I remember those days.
Yeah, was it?
Maybe there was definitely a lot of Mass Colossi stuff in Cloud Kingdom.
No, Cloud Kingdom was Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, I think so too. But it came back for a while, right? Maybe.
Not in HOTS, no.
Re-entered the ladder map pool HOTS from 2014. The 10th of November 2014 to December as part of the Dream Pool. Maybe I'm just thinking of the Dream Pool.
Yeah, it was Dream Pool, yeah.
I have just this vision in my head of like a Mass Colossi game on Cloud Kingdom as Colossi like push through the third base or something. Might have just been Dream Pool. Might have just been Legacy of the Wings of Liberty because that was also very Colossi heavy, so I was probably just thinking of a different stage. PvP has been such an interesting matchup to follow in terms of metagame differences.
I agree. And actually, like, the mid-game in PvP at the moment, if you can get there, it's pretty interesting actually, because you can go Charge Light Immortal Archon, you can go Disruptor.
Yeah.
It even feels like you could possibly go Colossus. Like,
yeah,
there's ways you can work it in. So
that's interesting.
I think the mid game is interesting. The early game is a bit volatile.
I think it is just the early game. It's like right now, like just people just seem to die, and people just seem to find ways to kill you, and you know, both players expand, and the next thing I know, one guy's got an immortal and like a bunch of units moving across the map, and he just wins the game. I'm like, okay, like, didn't really see that happening. Sorry, guys. My guys was like, I just saw casually talking to the guys on the other side of the map. I'm like, oh, he's GG. Oh, yeah. And then everyone's like, what a shitty caster. Does he even understand this game? I'm like, no, guys, I don't know what's going on in PvP right now. I'm sorry.
No one does.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Bit crazy. It'll be interesting to see how it changes up over the next month or two with like the slight changes that come in as well. Can obviously just kind of shift things all over again. So PvP definitely want to keep an eye out on. I guess just PvZ. We haven't talked about anything in particular there. Seems kind of one of the more well matched up kind of matchups at the moment. I guess people seem to be having an okayish time on either side.
Yeah, I think it's okayish on either side. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it goes spectacularly well. Other times I just get shat on.
Very different stuff from Zerg though, right? Like we're kind of back to like early Legacy of the Void. Like everyone's playing the Lurkers again. Everyone's setting up to go into Lurkers, and they found new ways to do it off of like it's like all of a sudden like 4-minute lairs are like completely normal just to build Lurkers. Like it was a mid-game tech choice. It's like okay, I guess that's what we're doing now. It's like that, you know. I look at a 4-minute lair, I'm like, oh shit, Nidus, here we go, or something. It's like nope, just the macro play again. Keep on droning.
And I've just been playing Heart of the Swarm as well, just like Stalker Sentry. Just
Oh yeah. That's becoming a real thing too.
+2 out as quickly as possible, and then Stalkers for days.
We casted you doing that against, I'd like to say, Crimson in the Oceanic qualifier for IEM. Is that right?
Yeah.
I definitely saw this on Blackpink, I think. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually sick as well. You like this, he went like laying Hydra all in against you, and it looked really as though you were gonna die. And then he dropped like 3 force fields, and the game just completely turned around. I was like, what? This is insane. I really thought you were dead. Man,
Stalkers
I
are
just
good,
have
man.
no faith in you. What a fucking horrible
Yeah,
friend.
that's it.
Hey,
Find
hey,
your
hey.
lack of faith disturbing.
It is. I think something I've seen in Europe as well has been kind of interesting. Some players are going right back to like Protoss build orders for like Star Legacy of the Void as well. Like I've seen some double Stargates into Robos and like double Robo stuff. Like just all over again what they used to do to deal with like lurkers back in the day, where you used to kind of like lift half the lurks
yeah.
with Phoenix and then the Immortals walk in and pew pew pew. But it's really cool to see just even between that kind of how different it plays now to then. Like the development of the matchup's really insane. Just player understanding how to engage. It's it really is kind of crazy. Like, wow, StarCraft's such a cool game.
It's the best.
It's the best.
That's why we all love it.
That's why we love it. Yeah, crazy. All right, kind of cool to hear your thoughts on the matchups. I always think it's nice to hear what people are thinking, the people who actually have to play it and put up with all the nonsense. It's pretty nice. Awesome. I think I'm done stealing your evening away from you.
And I've still got 25 minutes of my
your birthday. Oh, see, I'm such a good friend. I'm gonna let you enjoy
so
the last.
generous.
I'm just let you enjoy the last minutes in silence, so you can just appreciate it. Be like, yes, I finally made it. Yeah, I felt really dumb because like I was telling everyone, oh, it was Probe's birthday today. Like after I saw you tweet about it or something.
That's fine.
Should have checked Wikipedia, man. Should have
That's
checked Wikipedia.
You have to wait for the birthday account on Twitter to tweet, you know.
I hope I get a tweet this year.
I'm pretty sure you will. They've been on top of it recently.
How long have they even been a thing though? Like, I guess.
Good question. But
They
they
only have-
tweeted it. They tweeted it like 11 seconds after it was my birthday. Like they were on top of it.
Well, in your time zone?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know.
That's actually insane. Wow. Yeah, it's been a thing since 2016. Maybe this year now I have a Wikipedia page. Maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll be relevant enough. Wow, they skipped a whole like half year or something. Maybe the bot died.
Maybe.
Anyways, cool. I mean, I'm just scrolling through Wikipedia now, so I guess we should wrap this up. I'll give you your few minutes to talk about anything you want or say anything. Shout out your team, anything. Please be my guest.
Sweet. So yeah, first thing to point out and remind everyone is PSL Championship is this weekend. So if you're not from Australia, you can watch that on twitch.tv/probe_sc2. We'll have all the games broadcast there. I'll jump on, cast a bit as well. And of course, if you're in Australia, especially Melbourne, come down. It's open to all skill levels. We'll be glad to have you. Come down, play, meet some pro players. It'll be really good. Shout out to my team Legacy, our sponsor Razer as well. Legacy and Razer really looking after me as well over these next couple of months, so I'm really grateful to them and what they're doing for me, so yeah.
Awesome. I just bought a Razer laptop just because they sponsor you.
Ah, thank you.
That wasn't actually the reason, but now it is. Officially endorsed by Wardy. I'm gonna tweet at them actually. When my laptop arrives, I'm gonna be like, hey guys, really love that you support Probe and Legacy Esports. Thanks.
Actually, do that. There you go.
Yeah.
That would make my team manager's day.
Then I get 50% of the profit, right? Like you get for like yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure. We'll talk about this later. Hangs up.
Yeah, it's keep on the down low. Can't get everyone in on my secrets. Awesome. Sorry, were you done? Did
I think I'm done. Yes.
You're done. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and being my guest here today. It was a pleasure to have you on the Natural Expansion. It was good to do an episode because it's been a little while for me because I've been kind of crazy traveling as well. Like I've just had the month of traveling that you're probably about to have. Like maybe not quite as extreme distances, but I've been like non-stop since like the start of November. So
yeah, because you went to BlizzCon, right?
Yeah, I went to BlizzCon. I was home for 2 days, and I went to Home Story Cup. Then I was home for like 9 days, and I went to Barcelona. And I finally got home from Barcelona, and I was like, nice, I'm home for the rest of the year. Or I was going to go to the Netherlands for like a weekend, and then I ended up getting to go to cast IEM qualifiers, so I had to go to Poland for that. And I'm off to Poland again in like 5 days if I get my flights, actually. So, yeah, it's exciting. It's kind of fun to. I love traveling, right? But goddamn, like at some point, I just want to sit down and stream for like 3 weeks straight. Like
that's true.
Give me my subscribers back. Yeah, it's still cool to kind of go places and stuff, but I just want like, even if I just I love traveling, but God, like every week is like a little bit ridiculous. Like, I can barely even think straight. I can barely even get a set of like matches going or like organize a tournament before I have to go again. It's been really insane, but no, it's always fun. But obviously natural expansion. I'm hoping to do it kind of once every couple of weeks again, guys. I know it's been a little while since the last one. Just been kind of really difficult to find the time, I guess, and to really set up into it. So hopefully going to have these again more often. I hope this was a really cool kind of welcome back with kind of like almost an hour of Probe, because Probe's like the best, so it really should have been.
Who doesn't want an hour of me? Let's be honest.
Literally nobody. Actually, nobody. I reckon this is going to be my most viewed episode by a large margin.
I reckon.
Easily. All right. So yeah, keep your eyes out for more of this. Obviously, you can subscribe if you listen on the iTunes or the YouTubes. You can subscribe as well. Obviously, I tweet about it on Twitter at WardiTV, on Facebook.com/WardiTV, and all of that good stuff. You can check us out live on Twitch TV as well, twitch.tv/Wardi with 3 eyes, because, that's something I did one time and I regret to this day. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Pro for being our guest tonight, giving us some cool chitter for the hour. And this was Natural Expansion, episode 13, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.